Looks like it's 6 o'clock and we're ready to go. So every council member is here except for Kelly. He is on a pre-planned vacation, and we wish him to have a great time. So let's do Pledge of Allegiance.
Wireless mics, we can move them wherever we need.
Awesome. So we've got Marissa and Cindy up here. The City of Garden Ridge has earned their third Municipal Clerk's Office Achievement of Excellence Award, presented by the Texas Municipal Clerks Association. The Achievement of Excellence Award recognizes excellence in the effective and efficient management of resources within the municipal clerk's office. Additionally, the award recognizes municipal clerks' offices throughout the state for compliance with federal, state, and local statutes that govern standards necessary to fulfill the duties and responsibilities of the office. The Achievement of Excellence Award covers a 2-year period, and the City of Garden Ridge was a recipient of this award in 2021 and 2023. So congratulations to y'all.
Thank you. Nice and heavy, right?
Right?
Dan's
You guys
gonna
are good
take our
pickers?
picture.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. And if y'all didn't know it, we have the best municipal clerk's office, so. So not listed here, and I guess Rob used to say mayor's prerogative. Another proclamation is Todd Arvidsson's birthday. He has asked that we not sing to him, so I said we would honor that, unless somebody just wants to get after it. I mean, he threatened me a little bit. Right. So, in order to cut down on the violence, we'll skip the singing, but happy birthday. L. All right, number 4 is citizen comment period. The city council welcomes citizen participation and comments at all city council meetings. If you speak, you must follow these guidelines. Respect and courtesy. Direct your comments to the entire city council, not to an individual member nor to the audience. Show the city council the same respect that you would like to be shown. End your speaking at the time allotted below. First citizen comment period, you're required to sign to speak, and it looks like we've got one person signed up to speak, and that's Dr. Miller.
Is that it? Thank you, council. Thanks for having me. With this recent change in climate here in San Antonio, with the rain every afternoon at 3 or 4 o'clock, the city of San Antonio seemed to have some problems with people, low water crossings and things of that nature, and actually lost some lives. And they seem to be having difficulty with this no matter how many years it's happened. And I was wondering how we fared as a city in terms of our stormwater management. That was my question.
Thank you for your comments and question. I'm sure Ryan can get back with you on some answers to that. So number 5, consent agenda. These items may be acted upon in a single motion. No separate discussion or actions on these items will be held unless requested by a council member. Public comment on these items may be held during citizen participation. However, that does not mean the item will be considered outside the consent agenda. Y'all had a chance to look at the consent agenda? Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 There we go. On to number 6, staff reports. City Manager, Ryan, you want to give us an update?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Included in there in the packet is a number of reports, including our volunteer Garden Ridge. We had our utility bill stuffers this month for about 6.5 hours, so we appreciate all their work. We do have employee anniversary. Officer Mahan McMahon, 17 years of service, so we appreciate his time with the city police department. And then, obviously in the packet where there we have the event, community events in the report, building permits and relevant information there. One note I'd like to say is that we've completed last week all the new audio video improvements for the Civic Center. We'll be doing a budget amendment later this month in regards to the significant savings that we had in doing this new system. But it's a vast improvement walking through and learning what they've done. I don't have a background on how or any issues what attending events, but I do know this is a vast improvement for audio video in the center as well. So that's been installed and working as of Wednesday of last week. So I'll turn it over to staff reports.
Well, let me say, any questions for Ryan, council? No, we're good.
Good evening. The only thing I have to report is the City of Garden Ridge has one vacant position, which is our court clerk position. So we are still looking for the right candidate for that position, but otherwise we are fully staffed. We're in our budget season. We're gonna be going over some of that tonight, and we're busy trucking. Thank you.
Any questions for Robin, council? No? Thank you, Robin. I know y'all are working hard. City Secretary, Marissa?
Thank you. The only things that I wanted to add is just reminders that city offices will be closed this Friday, the 4th, because we'll have our annual parade and celebration at Paul Davis Park. And then we'll also be closed to observe July 4th for the employees on Monday, July 7th. And that is all that I have for this month.
Awesome, thank you. On to the police department. Chief Bellinger?
Thank you, Mayor. So just wanted to follow up. We completed our pancake breakfast this past month, and good success. It's always good to get the police department and the fire department together when there's not an emergency. And so we had a good time, and all the proceeds get donated to the Children's Advocacy Center. So I think we're able to put about $4,500 towards that organization. A reminder that with 4th of July right around the corner, fireworks are prohibited in Garden Ridge. So for the folks watching, I know we're getting a lot of rain, and that's good, but fireworks are still prohibited in the city.
Thank you. Any questions for Dan, council? Everybody's good? All right, let's move on to E, Public Works Department. We've got Eric first with Public Facilities.
Hello, hello. Nothing to add to my report. Just getting everything ready for our July 4th event on Friday.
thank you for all the work you're doing with that. And Dwayne, utilities?
Thank you. Good evening. First of all, the Edwards Aquifer. We used 22.79 acre feet last month, 102.45 on the year. We have 422.2 left, so we are going to start using more. We are in stage 3, or excuse me, the Edwards is in stage 3. We are in stage 2. We've had all our bacteria samples at 6 all passed. They were good. We've had 30 chlorine residual tests, all good. Work orders 269, locates 41, meter reads at 1,701. We had a water loss of 1.8%. Our average on the year is 2%. Of course, the national average is at 16%.
Right.
So we are doing real well there. And that's it.
Thank you. Council, any questions for Eric or Dwayne? No? Awesome. So we are on to the library. Wendy?
Good evening. The library has had a wonderful start, and we are very proud of all of our readers. They have just it's been phenomenal. We started off with over 100 people with our Pizza Palooza in June, and it's just been wonderful with everyone that's been visiting our library. We've had lots of programs that we're doing, and we have a really big program with our stuffed animal sleepover that we do annually, and that one is happening. The kids drop off their stuffies and on July 9th, and on July 10th, they pick them up, and they have a PJ story time and craft, and I make a little memory book for them. So that's going to be a lot of fun. But overall, we're having a very successful summer.
Thank you. Any questions for Wendy? I saw you, were you doing a water activity this morning out there? Was that what you were setting up?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
We were doing bubbles, and it was a relay race with the water guns.
Awesome.
So they were having a lot of fun.
Yes, thank you for keeping all these kids entertained this summer. Number 7, city engineer projects status reports. Hank?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Get this set up really quick. Can you hear me? Perfect. Have a few updates from the report on the FM 2252 project. They have staked the remaining 330 feet that they have to do on the northeast side of FM 3009 2252 intersection. So I do anticipate them going out there beginning next week to knock out that last section. You may also see pretty soon that CenterPoint will be starting their final work on this section just west of there along FM 2252 on the north side of the road. So still some activity on the utility side before the roadway catches up this direction. Last I heard, the roadway is still scheduled to be complete at the end of this year. I haven't heard any delays there yet, so you could see that coming into the city as the year comes to an end. I have an update on the SAWS Emergency Interconnect project as well. We were notified last week that the agenda item has pushed from what was supposed to be yesterday to, I believe, September 15th. So we'll be waiting to hear more on that. They're going to confirm the date to us as soon as they know, but that's their tentative date at this time. We also have Batcave Road Improvements Project. We had the bid opening recently, and there's a bid recommendation with a bid tabulation that is on the items to consider. I believe it's item 9A, so we can talk about it more there. I also had some updates on, it's really parts and pieces to get the capital improvements plan in place. We have a an outfit that's coming in to do an inspection of the roads that'll provide a road condition analysis. We're working through the contracting with them and should have something for staff review pretty shortly. We also are working on, with a traffic engineer, to address a intersection at Forest Waters entrance. So we're looking to do a stop warrant analysis there. They're gonna hold off on on gathering traffic counts until school's in session, so we get a little better numbers. But we're going to get everything in place for that to happen at that time as soon as possible. I also, to address the situation on the storm, I did jot a few notes before coming up here. I wasn't quite prepared, but I can give a little bit of a statement on it. We did have a pretty large storm event that came in mid-June. There was what turns out to be around a 100-year storm event that hit Garden Ridge. And actually, the intensity that hit Universal City was 200 years. So pretty intense storm that came through recently. There were some lives lost, that is correct. But I did talk to Stephen right after the storm, and all the detention ponds appeared to be working as they were intended for design. There were some washout on FM 2252 due to construction activities in the area, but I didn't hear of any reported blowouts or structural deficiencies on our stormwater network in the city. Around in the county, there were a lot of low water crossings that were designed really for a 5-year event, so those were definitely underwater during this. I did hear a presentation yesterday morning where all of their dams that they are monitoring worked as they were supposed to, so that was really good to hear that in the surrounding communities everything's working as it should and come out. So that's kind of the brief. We might have some more to present later, but just wanted to share those while I was here. With that, I'm open for any questions.
Yeah, council, any questions? I've got a couple if y'all don't.
Yeah, I just had one.
Okay.
So just going to ask you, thanks for all the information. It's really good. So then, do you know then, I know you're saying that so far the 2252 project's still on queue, but would you know if there's going to be any, will they let you know if there's any pushback because of the fact that we had that rain? I mean, I didn't know if all that rain that we've received and what had happened in June, they might have a delay on completing this project on time, because I'm looking at it, it looked like it was supposed to be completed in late July. So do you know if they'll get back to you to let you know if it's still on progress, or did they already do that and they're still on progress?
So the biggest issue with that area is this very tight working space, and it's all rock, and they're working near an existing water line. So they could be done over there in 2 weeks or 6 weeks, and we really don't know yet until they start hitting it and figuring out what they're working with. So what I've seen so far, at least for this recent coming back, is that they tell me it's going to be 8 weeks, and it ends up being 2.5. So that's why I'm pretty hopeful at the end of the month they should be good. And then all we're looking at is revegetating all of those areas. So I can definitely by next council meeting, you'll have a really good update. But as you drive by, you should see them progressing over the month.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Ryan and I actually met with Commissioner Hogg yesterday, and between the three of us, we couldn't remember how this road was supposed to progress. Now it's going from the bridge this way, or are they doing kind of a bookend, working on the intersection after the bridge is done?
I can get back to you on that. I do
Okay,
not
yeah, we
know
just
that
weren't sure.
Exactly. So far, they've been working
Right, in a
in a
progressing
linear
this
progression.
direction. Yeah.
Correct. But they could be flipping over to the intersection.
Yeah, I just couldn't remember.
The issue with that is, we're clearing out there, but there are also some utility poles in the area that have been delaying them getting over to this intersection,
Okay.
which has taken longer than all of the underground utilities.
And this is kind of, what? Birthday boy?
No, every time I hear power poles, I go, yay, CPS, they suck.
Oh. Can you describe what the new intersection is gonna look like off the top of your head, or you could provide and we'll get that information out to people? I couldn't find the exact final version of what 2252 and 3009 was gonna look like, and I've had a lot of questions.
I may be able to put that in next month's
That'd be great.
as an attachment. That'd be a lot better than me trying to
Awesome.
describe it.
I gotcha.
There's a lot better functionality over there.
Yes.
I can say that.
Yes, okay, thank you so much.
And as the mayor know, we reached out to TxDOT yesterday to try to get more details to show illustrations of what it's gonna
Yep.
look like, so that we can, put that on our website or just our social media, so people know what it's eventually gonna look like. and possibly a timeline from that standpoint.
Yep, I think we need to
Hank,
get
can you
that done.
touch on with council a little bit on the water CIP? A little bit of what the intent of that is as well?
Yes,
'Cause
yes.
it's important when we discuss the water rates and, you know, future projects relating to it as well.
Of course, yes. So the water CIP is one facet of this, all CIP projects, but we're in the modeling phase right now of the water CIP, which the structure of this is going to be a 20-year lookout on all water projects that we can think of, capital improvement projects, so that we can really get ahead of planning. So we'll be creating a list, prioritizing through a lot of meetings with staff to figure that out, and then it'll be in 5-year takes, basically. So that'll be a great tool to look at for water rates and future planning.
That's great. Anybody else with a question?
Yeah, a couple questions here. So first of all, you talked about the SAWS tie-in getting pushed back to 15 September. Was there any reason why it got pushed back? Are we having any problems with it, or is it just didn't make the agenda?
All I heard was it didn't make the agenda.
Okay.
I'm gonna find out. I'll let you know.
Thank you. The other question, you mentioned the road analysis that we're doing, and I think that's great, looking forward to it, but I didn't hear a timeline, or I might have just missed it. What's the timeline on that?
I can get one for you once we get them on board, but basically they have to drive around with, this truck that has a whole bunch of sensors on it that takes a bunch of information on the road. They do a stress analysis with that. They run it through a scoring system and pump out a report from that. So
Just curious if it's in the next month or two, or if that's going to be more towards when school starts also.
I'm going to push through, I mean, it should be done in 2 months. I
Okay.
don't see why it'd take longer than, it really just matters when we get them to the notice to proceed. And I think at that point, I'm going to start pushing 6-week time period.
Okay.
Typically, they're about 6 to 8 weeks from start to finish.
Thank you. And just one quick question, and if we can't talk about it because it's not on the agenda, that's fine, but what happens with the capital improvement plan? What's the process for that? I know you talked to, do you coordinate that with the Water Commission, or how does that work?
We will be coordinating at the end. Once we get a draft together, we'll be getting with the Water Commission. But really at this stage, we're going through a modeling exercise to figure out, to basically stress test the whole water system as a whole. We look for aging infrastructure to identify infrastructure replacements. We look for potential upsizing required, pumping capacities through demands, look for potential low pressure areas along the business corridor as it develops. So we also stage it out and say, hey, we think that the business corridor is going to develop like such. With these assumptions, this is what we're thinking needs to go into place. We take a look at the storage facilities, so your elevated, your ground storage tanks.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've done one of these, so I'm just wondering, I assume there's going to be a list of priorities. I don't know if there's going to be any flexibility in those priorities. Then are you going to go to Water Commission to discuss the priorities, and then they come to council? Is that the general flow? Okay.
That's
Just
correct.
making sure.
Yep.
Thanks.
The ultimate goal is to have a list of projects with cost and priority of what year they need to be done. And that'll be the foundation for helping determine future rates because of that cost to capital.
And I want to thank Councilman Mueller for that. Yeah, I was kind of wanting to know what's the end result. Thank you, Ryan. I appreciate it. That's kind of what I was looking for too, is what are we going to do with it, and how's this going to work? So I appreciate it. It makes more sense now. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, and ultimately, it's a coordinated effort, again, because you talk about the classification of the streets. So that'll drive, like, if we need to replace water lines, aging water lines, and then the next year we'll actually do the street itself. So it's coordinated that way, address the water lines, and then next year we would resurface the street.
Thank you, Hank. Lots of great information.
Of course.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, on to number 8. City Commission reports, recommendations, possible actions. A, the Planning and Zoning Commission did not meet in June. B, we've got the Water Commission. Chairman Pohl, you want to come up? Got water straight structure, and 1.1, receive recommendation from Water Commission.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. In your packet is a pretty succinct summary of the meeting. I think the key item is, and it's a recommendation tonight from the commission to the City Council, and that is we had a good and thorough review, really over 2 meetings, of the city's recommendation for water rate increases for the 2026 budget. At the last meeting, the final proposed increase was $3 to the base and 6% to the tier. After discussion, the commission voted unanimously to amend that and recommend an increase of $4 to the base and 4% to the tier. The reasons for this are as follows. Due to the city's goal and plan to pay down our capital improvement debt, the commission felt it was important to secure this money with a more predictable revenue stream, which is more base-oriented than tier. The city, and this follows a discussion from the city engineer, and that is, this is preparing the city for additional and more capital improvement projects, which are likely to be coming. Second item, a large tier increase might drive further conservation efforts at the high-end water users, which actually could end up suppressing revenue, which has been a contributing problem to what we've seen. We've been very successful in our conservation efforts. Our revenues have dropped. Secondly, and it's hard to imagine this, but if we are actually emerging from a drought, we had another half inch this afternoon, the high-end water users are going to drop off. So that depresses revenue and reduces the impact of a higher tier rate. Those were the kinds of things that were on our mind when we voted for this. And as noted by the city, the proposed rate still has Garden Ridge in a New Braunfels study at or below the midpoint of about 20 other cities in the area. So we're definitely remaining very much in line there. So that was really the essence of it. I'd be glad to answer any questions at this item of our meeting.
Any questions, council? We've got a lot of information in the packet you were given.
So I was going to ask on this, the rate that's being recommended, is this something that we might be seeing recommended every year to council, or is it hard to, I know I'm asking something that's hard to predict because you don't know what the future lies, but I kind of looked at what we did last year, and I know this is both options are options that have to be presented because of what's been going on around with the rain, the drought, and I get that, but did y'all think about it? Is this something that we may be a consistent issue that we're going to experience every year? Is this kind of what y'all got the idea for this, the options were presented because there could be a possibility that we may have this problem in the future? Or I'm just curious what the rationale for the numbers that were brought up at the meeting.
There wasn't a lot of discussion about what the future would be. A lot of the discussion of the future was, let's look into the future and see. The capital improvement plan that the city engineer talked about, that Ryan talked about, is really going to be the driving force. I think one of the things that's a reality is, regardless of how much water goes through our pipes, we have a system that is aging. It still needs to remain robust for all types of water use. It may contract like it has the past couple of years due to conservation efforts. I think the simple answer is we just don't know. In listening to Stephen Steinmetz talk, he is seeing in his expense profile chlorine, labor, valves, consumables. Inflation isn't over, and we may be seeing it tail off, but some of the numbers that he talked about, it just in the instance of chlorine, still very significant increases. So if I had to venture, I would say, yeah, there's probably increases in our future. Whether there'll be a base or tier recommendation, I think we need to see what water usage looks like, maybe as we emerge from a drought. We've been in this for so long, but we need revenue to run the system with a lot or a little bit of water. So that's probably the best answer I can give you.
I think, Councilman, the idea is that you have, as Mr. Pohl said, the aging system. So you're looking at the cost of doing business. You're looking at the projects in the pipeline and ultimately the paying back the debt. So you have three factors really that, from what was presented to what I think is a good compromise with the Water Commission here in this rate moving forward. Ultimately, this aligns with our proposed to adopted budget and starting this new rate with October 1st, which is the goal of what we want with any new rate that's proposed in the budget as well.
Thank you for all the work y'all did on this. It was a
You're
great
welcome.
meeting, and y'all really asked the right questions. Council discussion?
Yeah, I've got a few things here on this. I know a rate increase like this, well, good evening, Bill. Thanks for getting up here and taking all the shots from everybody on this one. But an increase like this obviously is going to get people's attention and everything. And I think to Councilwoman Reyes' point there, I think rate stability, I know in the modeling, the water rate modeling program that we have, rate stability is one of those things that you can put an emphasis on as we go through there. I think maybe that might be a good thing to think about, so we maybe can get a little bit better on that. I think also that, I know this was brought up in the Water Commission meeting, but I want to say it again because I think it's important. But I think we owe it to the residents to look at both sides of the equation. This was really just we only looked at, hey, this is what the budget is, and we're going to raise rates to meet what this proposed budget is. I don't think we gave the budget or the costs that were outlined there a good thorough review. And I know that y'all are working on that, and I encourage y'all to keep going down that road and make sure that that goes along there. And I know you've talked about commercial rates and out-of-town rates, and I think those are good areas to actually look at also to see if we can do some kind of balancing perhaps and try to minimize the impact on our residents a little bit more on those things. I think that's it for my notes. Thanks.
Anyone else on council? You good? It's so tricky trying to come up with these water rates, and I just want the Water Commission to know how much we appreciate them, and their advice is very valuable to council. So what we've got here, we have a city staff recommendation and the Water Commission recommendation. Would somebody like to make a motion? I mean, I don't get to vote, but I do favor the Water Commission recommendation. I think the monthly base rate gives us a little more security, not knowing what water consumption is going to be and where we're going to be in the drought. So that's the way I'm leaning.
Mayor, Council, and so you see the 3 versus the 4, and I think that was a good compromise for the $4 increase, and Robin can elaborate, but that basically goes towards paying back the debt, which I think equates to an additional $80,000 towards paying back the debt, right, Robin? Roughly? $4 increase? Yeah.
I'll go ahead and make a motion to adopt the Water Commission's recommendation for the water rate increase.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Second.
You got a couple seconds there. Okay, we got Mueller and Arvidsson. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye.
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 All right, there we have it. Thank you so much. And I guess we're not done with you. Receive monthly activity update as applicable.
Yes. I guess, first of all, the commission wanted to really express its appreciation for the city's earlier work this year on water rates, and next year, as Councilman Mueller mentioned, we asked for more information earlier on expenses so that that becomes part of the discussion as well as the revenue to meet expenses. The other thing, and I believe it certainly was a first for me, but the city engineer joined us and gave a very good presentation on his plans and modeling along with the city manager for developing a long capital improvement plan, a long-range plan. All of this is what's needed so that we don't feel like we're just looking just over the hood into the future. The other thing is the system we operate on is a model that was utilized and obtained several years ago, and one of the commission's actions is to look at the modeling that we've got. I'm sure there's probably improvements to it. There may be other models that we can take a look at and see if that shapes our thinking in the future. The last item is the commission continued its review of revisions to ordinance 61 and 159, and I think we're getting pretty close to turning it over to the city attorney for their review. So I'll be working with Ryan on that. That's all I've got. Thank you.
You said you're pretty close. Do you have a timeline on the 61 in particular?
I'd like to submit it to the city attorney and back to the commission in time for the next meeting. I'm working on it, as you know, a couple hours every day, and we're getting close. The comments are getting more and more refined. So I would think we'll be presenting it to city council probably either in July or in July or August. Hopefully in time to have it worked out in time for the watering season, so to speak, which would start in November under the proposal.
That'd be great. Thanks.
Okay. Yep.
Anyone else? Thank you so much for the information. We're determined to give the Water Commission the information they need to make the best decisions as well. So thank you so much for your work, Commissioner. Thanks. Okay, 9, approvals and authorizations. The following items are for discussion, consideration, and action. A is bid award for Bat Cave Road. I'll turn this over to our city engineer and our city manager.
Thank you, Mayor Council. I'll have Hank come back and discuss the bid itself, the process, and then who the award is to. Obviously, we had 4 bids. The budget, I think, was about $475, and the lowest bid came in at the $312,000. And so in the packet, you have an award letter and/or recommendation from Hank and Tri-Hydro, and awarding it to Dean Ward Company. Is that correct, Hank?
That's correct. Yeah, you basically touched on it pretty well. We did a research into Dean Ward, their recent work. They've done work in, they're currently working on a TxDOT project in San Marcos. They're doing a county road just outside of the city of New Braunfels. So they're currently and have experience working on public roads. So I think that they're qualified for this work, and they're the lowest qualified bidder in this situation.
And if you recall, Council, the county did the portion of Bat Cave, but they didn't do the transitions. So we had a contractor go out and do that, and that's part of this cost. Adding to it, sort of an on-demand contractor to do that work. And then the street classification study that we're gonna do, that Hank spoke of earlier, will be tied to this, but it still brings down the actual cost below. So we'll be doing a budget amendment on that later this month to see the difference in the savings.
So once we award the bid, can you give us an idea of the timeline?
I don't have the timeline memorized. However, we want to get them out there a couple weeks, I think August 1st generally. So we're going to be working hard this month with a pre-con towards the end of the month, should this be approved and, you know, from your consideration.
I will note too that this is another issue we discussed with Commissioner Hogg about working with the county and coordinating in the future. So I think that's important we do that.
Something else we're definitely going to have to coordinate with them is I do think this project is going to carry into school time. So we would have loved to have it done in 2 weeks,
Right.
but it's probably going to be more likely around 6 weeks. So that'll be a emphasis at our pre-construction meeting.
Okay, yeah, thanks for that.
Yeah, thank you, Nick. I need to cut you off, Mayor. That was gonna be actually my question, is when are we gonna look at getting this done? Because we know school's gonna start pretty soon, and it's gonna be a lot of traffic. So you're saying 6 weeks from once it's approved and the agreement is made? Is that when we're looking at when it would be completed, or?
Well, I think as Hank mentioned, we'll have a pre-construction meeting at the end of this month. That'll set the timeline.
Okay, okay.
Probably roughly 6 weeks, and try to work with, you know, informing the public of the work itself during the month of August and September.
I believe it's 6 weeks from notice to proceed is how it's written currently, so.
Anybody else from council with questions? No? Well, can I get a motion to award the bid for the Bat Cave Road contract?
Yeah, I'll make the motion to award the bid to Dean Word Company for the, what is it, for the Bat Cave Road project.
Can I get a second?
I second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
There we go. The ayes have it. On to B, Republic Services Annual Rate Adjustment. We're going to turn that over to Finance and HR and our city manager, and we are also lucky to have Tom Armstrong from Republic to speak to us about the adjustments as well.
Mayor and council, this is essentially a consumer price index in the contract. And the packet, Robin laid out what was provided to us by Republic as far as the changes in the rate structure at the 4.79 rate increase. And then, as the mayor mentioned, we have Tom Armstrong here from Republic to answer any questions as it relates to this increase or anything else related to operations from Republic.
Welcome. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. My name is Tom Armstrong with Republic Services. I'm the manager of municipal sales. I've been with the company for 19 and a half years, and I've been responsible for the City of Garden Ridge contract since the Bear Waste acquisition in 2017. I met with the mayor and city manager today. They did mention that this annual rate increase was going to be on the agenda tonight, and I just volunteered to come and maybe walk council through the process of how we do it and answer any questions that you have. Then, if I have a second, I would like to talk about a couple items that we spoke about at our meeting today, which are some opportunities for garbage and recycling service in the community. The contract allows us a annual price increase. It's based upon consumer price increase, or CPI, Consumer Price Index. And then we have like a specific sub-index that we use called water, sewer, and trash that just makes it a little more specific to our industry. For the last 12 months, that index increased by 4.79%, which added to the rates. The residential monthly rate is now $30.93. With that increase, would take it to $32.41. So that is an increase of 4.79. Following the gentleman from the Water Commission, I believe he's right in that inflation has leveled off a bit, but we are still seeing increases. 4.79 isn't a small increase, so we're still seeing some pretty, which I would call above average price increases. You know, prior to the pandemic, these increases were 2%, pretty much, and then post-pandemic, we were seeing CPI increases of 7 and 8%. So we're heading in the right direction, but unfortunately, it is still it's a significant increase. So, is there any questions from council on how we calculate that, or anything?
Yes, I had a question. I just,
Okay.
so for our constituents that are probably, at home watching this, they're and I feel for them, because I know, they just got through talking to a Water Commission representative about a raise in water rates.
Right.
I want them to understand that this is actually part of an agreement that is based on the rate that has increased with y'all based on a consumer price indexing. So it's really not, nothing that the council can control as far as, I mean, the rate just increases, it increases.
Right.
I think I want the constituents to understand that, because
Yeah.
I don't want them to be at home wondering, man, they're gonna raise this, council's gonna approve a raise of this, and that's not really, we kind of don't have a choice in this matter. This is based on, like you said, CPI, inflation, and the rate that was already agreed to when the contract was signed years ago.
Right.
Right, okay.
Right. And, you know, it's not a money grab on our part. It just allows us to keep pace with cost of living increases and inflation. So I appreciate that.
Does the service, does anything change on the service, though, that you may want to cover? I know you were talking about some of the services. Is anything that you want to add on that?
Yeah, well, a couple things that came up when I was meeting with the mayor and city manager today. They brought up the possibility of, if there is an availability of a smaller cart for a disabled resident or an elderly resident, and we would be willing to offer a smaller 65-gallon cart. The current carts are 96 gallons, so it's there's also 35-gallon carts. We would like to offer one or the other, but I thought the 65-gallon might make a little more sense, because it still gives you quite a bit of room for trash, where a 35-gallon cart is really, there's not a lot to it. It's like a kitchen trash can. So we're willing to do that. We did discuss kind of putting some parameters around it, that the resident would have to kind of prove need for it, just to keep everyone from calling in who wants a smaller cart. But we kind of walk through the logistics of it, of how since we bill residents directly, we would ask those residents to contact us. They would provide the doctor's note or whatever they have to the city. City will let us know, okay, they approve it, they're good to go. We would reach out to them and take care of that transaction. There'd be no cost to it. And basically, once it's set up, we will tell them when the swap out date will be. We ask them to have their current cart at the curb that day. We'll empty that cart, pick it up, and deliver the smaller cart at that time. So there's no time where they're without a cart. So we'll do it all at the same time. Take the old one away and deliver the new one. The other thing, I was really just trying to let mayor and city manager know of something we have new in our company that's available. And I know that over the years, City of Garden Ridge has done some household hazardous waste collection events, and they're expensive. There's no two ways about it. One of the things I was mentioning was that's subcontracted by us. We don't perform that our own. So it's done by a third party, which usually comes from Houston or Dallas. So just the mobilization cost alone is usually $20,000 plus. And that's before you get to, you know, disposal and collection of all the materials. So the city had done a few collection events over the years. Gotware is just kind of cost prohibitive to do. One thing that's happened within our company is we have acquired an environmental services company, and household hazardous waste is in their portfolio. And what we have put together is a program where we would do a curbside collection of household hazardous waste on a call-in basis. So a resident could call in up to one time a month and say, hey, I've got a gallon of paint or whatever. We would send out a container that they could place that in. We would tell them the date that we're going to be by, and we would send a truck by and pick that up from the front porch. There is a cost associated with that. It's I told you $1.30 today, Mayor, and I found out it's $1.25. So it does add to the monthly bill, but I just wanted to let you know that it's available. If you guys want to kick that around, and if you're interested, just let me know and we can discuss it further. But it's an option that's out there. The other thing I mentioned to the city manager, and he was already aware of it, is Alamo Area Council of Governments, ACOG, They have a grant that cities can request every other year to put towards a household hazardous waste collection event. So there's some options out there. I know there's a need for it in the community because there's not a lot of options to dispose of that stuff now. And my fear is with no options, it's going in the trash more than likely, or it's just stacking up in their garage. So,
And I want to thank you for that, because actually, Ryan and I were talking about this. We've had some constituents ask us about the option to have this type of a place where they could provide dumpsters and maybe some gentlemen from Republic that could help with handoffs and doing drop-offs. So we have a lot of the community that isn't able to move this stuff on their own.
yeah.
And I know he and I were talking, and to hear these options, this is something that I was going to ask you next. But
Good.
I appreciate this ability to have these other ways of doing things to help our constituents out who are trying to get rid of stuff from their
Well, I
neighborhoods.
wanted to just put it out there and let you guys know it's available, and if there's interest, let me know and we'll discuss it further.
There was a third thing we talked about, and didn't come to any great conclusions, but, you know, the comments I've heard
Leaves.
about trash through the years has been that the 96-gallon cans are hard for some people, so if we can address that, I think that would be awesome. We do have regular requests for the hazardous waste, and then the leaves. You know,
Yeah.
we used to be able to have 12 bags of leaves out during
Yeah.
leaf season, so, and, you know, there's people that don't have a truck or don't have the ability
Yeah.
to take those leaves up to the dump.
Yeah.
So we were sort of brainstorming around that a little bit, and didn't come to any great conclusions,
Yeah.
but opened that discussion
Well,
at
I
least.
kind of need to do some more research on that, but basically what we talked about as far as options go, and City of Garden Ridge has a great event that they provide for the city, which is a weekend collection events, and I was trying to impress on them how unique that is. Other cities don't do that, and that's a great benefit that's offered to the residents of the community. But the mayor mentioned there's people that don't have a truck, don't have the ability to do that, and that leaves a couple options. We have a reduced rate on an extra cart that they can have, so they would have 2 carts and they could use the extra cart for trash, or they could put yard waste in it or leaves. Of course, there's a cost associated with that. Another thing the mayor mentioned was it may be a possibility, and of course I would take research too, of when there's something, like say in leaf season where there's a lot of leaves, maybe we could bring a couple open tops down to City Hall. Public Works, if they had the bandwidth, maybe they could pick it up and it could go into the roll-off container, which we would take care of. And then the other thing is just what we call an out-of-cycle brush or bulk pickup, which a resident could call in, and I think it's $25 for a certain number of bags. I'm sorry, I don't have the specifics, but just say it's 6 bags of leaves, there'd be like a $25 charge for that, and then if they go over that, it's $1 or $2 more, but that's also an option. So those are the things that we can kind of do any of those, but I have a meeting with my general manager tomorrow, and I wanted to talk to him and see if he had any other ideas of maybe just during leaf season have one day where we run through the city and pick up bags, and if that's even possible, I don't know, but it's something I'll explore.
Council, any other questions, any comments? Good. Anything from you, Ryan?
No, Mayor, I think Tom covered it all.
Yeah, thank you. It's a very helpful discussion.
Thank you. Have a
So
good
we've
evening.
got a resolution. Can I get a motion to approve the resolution number 535-072025? Nope, nope. Where am I?
I don't think it needs one, does it?
Okay. Oh, gotcha. I'm sorry. Yes. Can we get a motion to approve the annual rate adjustment?
Make a motion to approve the annual rate adjustment for Republic Services.
Can I get a second?
I second it.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 There we go. Thank you. I'll get this all straight eventually. So thank you. Thank you
Thank
for
you very
being
much.
here. It's great information. Okay, we're on to 9C, resolution number 535-072025. I'll turn this over to city manager for review.
Mayor and council, this is a resolution that was passed last month to form the Aggregate Production Operations Advisory Council. We're just bringing it back for the structure change solely, which would put a city council member as a representative, a voting representative, and then changing the mayor as an ex officio for a non-voting representative. That's the only change and or modification from the resolution that was passed last month. Yeah, I think Councilman Reyes brought up that in the back there that the exhibit showed ex officio seat 10, one representative from city council, which is, mayor for that position. So, but we can make that change as an exhibit through Natalie, or Marissa can.
Yeah, Brian and I discussed this almost immediately after the last council meeting and decided it would be great to have another council member participating, and that me serving as an ex officio member better reflected my role on council. As a non-voting member of this council, I would be a non-voting member of this advisory council as well.
And I think it was discussed for Councilman Arvidsson to be the representative of that council seat.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So, council discussion, anything?
So it's, the resolution specifies in section 2, that you're appointing the mayor to seat 10, and that you're appointing Councilmember Todd Arvidsson to replace the mayor as seat 1 city council representative. The exhibit is just the generic wording of what those seats are gonna be. They don't have anybody's name correlating with them.
So any discussion, council? Okay, so when they make the motion, do they have to mention that the mayor is moving to seat 10 and Arvidsson is, okay. Okay, resolution number 535-072025, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Garden Ridge, Texas, amending the Aggregate Production Operations Advisory Council for the City of Garden Ridge, appointing an additional member to inaugural term of Advisory Council, and providing an effective date. Can I get a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve resolution number 535-072-025 for the City of Council of the City of Garden Ridge, Texas, amending the Aggregate Production Operations Advisory Council for the City of Garden Ridge, appointing an additional member to inaugural term of Advisory Council, providing an effective date.
Can I get a second?
I second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 And there we have it. The ayes have it. So on to 9D, agenda format and structure. I'll turn this over to Ryan as well.
Mayor and council, I'll be quick because I would like all the council members to be here, and that Mayor Pro Tem Smith is not here. The goal is just to kind of look at how the agenda can be modified. As I've indicated there, to discuss with you all the current framework, possibly how we could restructure the areas of the agenda, whether that is within the citizens' comments. There's 2 citizens' comment periods, a consent, staff reports, commission reports, updates on projects. My ultimate goal is to have the city manager report that is a precursor to all of those that would be in the packet. And then I could touch on any of those, or you could ask staff any questions being present and not necessarily go through all the reports at that time. Just looking to, enhance clarity, improve the public engagement, reduce meeting length, without compromising that transparency or effectiveness from that standpoint. My ultimate goal is to work with Uli council member on this item, working with Marissa, city secretary, to kind of potentially modify how a new agenda may look like in comparison to the current agenda. But mostly, I just wanted any of y'all's feedback, if this is something you're interested in doing moving forward. I have heard from council members and about the willingness to do that if necessary from that standpoint. I'm not sure how council feels. I believe they would be okay if we weren't doing the staff reports. But there definitely would be here to answer any questions that would be already in the agenda packet itself from that standpoint. But without Kelly being here, there's certainly not necessarily any action today. I wanted to keep it short to hear any feedback or input any one of y'all had from that standpoint, because I want to make sure it's transparent, that if it takes a few meetings to sort of get this right, that everybody's agreed upon it, staff has agreed upon it, that we can move forward after that with any tweaks, modifications, or any enhancements to the current city council agenda itself.
Thank you for that. Any council discussion, any ideas, comments? I know Ryan has spoken with all of us at one time or another about the agenda.
I'm a big fan of streamlined meetings, so I like the direction this thing is going. I just want to be careful on the citizen comments and make sure that citizens have the opportunity to talk about the various issues that come up. And I know we talked about some ideas to make that happen. I'm looking forward to seeing what the final product looks like.
Yes, Councilman. I mean, most cities don't have 2 citizens comment periods, and Natalie can touch on that from a legal standpoint if necessary. In 2 of my previous cities, citizens would just sign up to speak on the particular agenda item to express their thoughts, concerns, or issues with it from that standpoint. So just coming in as the new city manager, I'm just looking for, like I said, the efficiency and effectiveness of it. We're here to do the city's business and get those things done like tonight.
I think that's always a good reminder that this is a public business meeting. And the more efficient we can be, the more streamlined we are, the more work we can get done. And with Ryan's help, we'll be getting lots of information, beforehand to really sink our teeth into it, so we're all prepared for these kind of discussions. Any other comments?
Yes, I just wanted to say thank you, Ryan. I think it's a great idea too, like Councilman Mueller was saying. I think it helps with redundancy. It alleviates redundancy. It provides clarity. I have to agree with Ryan on this. Looking at other council meetings and from other surrounding cities, it sounds like some of the things that we do have, they don't do. I can attest to what he's talking about with the city reports. A lot of times I see a lot of the directors come up to the podium and usually ask the council if you've read the information that was provided. Do you have any questions? I know a lot of times that's how they do that to streamline the meeting. So, and I think it's much appreciated that we get this information ahead of time. If there's anybody on council that probably wants to, maybe feels like they can't see it all, maybe there's a recommendation to get it sooner than later so we can look at it earlier. That way we can move to that type of, if we just have questions when we have the actual meeting. So I'm all for it. So you have my support on what you would like to do on this. So I look forward to seeing what the end product's going to be. So thank you.
I agree. I like the streamlined idea process, and I also hope that it will bring about more community engagement in that the community can see what's going on the website beforehand.
I also think if we have shorter meetings, we may have greater attendance. We can streamline that. If if a citizen thinks they're going to be sitting there for 3 hours, they may, I'll just sit at home, watch online kind of thing, so I think that might be helpful as well. Do you want to get some kind of consensus, just a thumbs up, we move forward on this, or?
No, I'm just
Okay.
feedback.
Okay.
And like I said, we're coming forward with potential changes, and we can come up with a few options probably of how this might look moving forward.
Okay, and I think it's always good practice if you haven't, just to tune in to some other cities' council meetings. It's really interesting to see how they do it in other places. And you can very clearly see some who are very efficient and some who, yes, right. So, I think there's some compromises we could make to make this a more efficient agenda. So thank you for that. And we are on to 9E. fiscal year 2026 budget work session. And again, we're going to have Ryan, our city manager. He's got a presentation.
So. Okay, I would ask Marissa or Cindy if yeah, it's turned on, so. Okay. There we go. I thought it would be more difficult. Thank you, Marissa. So, Mayor and Council, good evening. This evening marks the beginning of the FY26 budget development process. While I'm not entirely sure what the process may have been and used in the past, our objective moving forward is clear: to engage and inform the City Council at every stage of the budget process, from proposal to adoption. I'd like to begin by thanking Robin for her efforts in compiling the preliminary revenue figures. She basically put this presentation together. I just fine-tuned. Thank you, Robin. Tonight's presentation, we're going to focus on preliminary revenues, specifically those to the general fund and water fund. This will offer a comprehensive, overview of the city's anticipated revenue streams. It'll show current 25, and then of course what we are forecasting for 26. So these are the areas of preliminary general fund revenues. You have your ad valorem, franchise, permit, grant, donations, court, miscellaneous. These are your big categories for revenue here. And then over on revenue, water, you have the water sales fees, miscellaneous fund changes, transfer loans. And then want to touch on a slide about capital improvements. And that capital improvements is sort of in line with what Hank was talking about, future capital projects as well. And then council budget goals and objectives. That's where I'll turn it over to you all for any input you might have, and then go over the meeting schedule moving forward. So sales tax, what we currently have is $550,000 with our sales tax base and growth for this vital revenue stream. So hopefully as we move forward with, areas of economic development along 2252, over the years this would hopefully double, even triple, with eventual retail in this area. Franchise fees, this provides associated with utilities, cable, solid waste, garbage, and others. Of course, you have here, these are mostly the CPS, the utilities, companies, water franchise, garbage. Those are our franchise fees category. And so I think we're year end is 696,000, and then the proposed is a slight decrease for 686,700. This is an overview of our ad valorem. As you look, it's a 4-year trend. And so what that touches on is the idea that we're looking at how much is collected for the ad valorem actually in the FY25 budget. The year end's looking at 1 million, well, actually what was proposed was 1,984,941. And so we're going to amend the budget for the 1,977,000, bringing it to FY26 of 2 million. So preliminary, based on the values we receive, that's what we're estimating for collections right now would be the 2,096,487. And then the bottom line, incorporating the delinquent and then ad valorem taxes, penalty interest, and the state sales tax would be the 2,700,000 would be the ad valorem that we would be plugging in right now for revenue for the 26 budget. Here is a breakdown for those franchise fees. As we mentioned, this is sort of just a comprehensive look of the line items for each one of those franchise fees. And it goes obviously from the cable, electric, gas, all the way down. The next column talks about the garbage, dumpster collection, those rates, and then the fees we incur. And then as you see in the last column, those are proposed revenues for those areas. Any questions so far, council, on those? Okay. Like I mentioned earlier, I want to try to give a very comprehensive look at all of our revenue streams, because I'm not sure what has been done in the past, but traditionally I like to make sure that you all know where every portion of the money's coming from. So.
I do have some questions if you
Yes,
want to
sir.
take some as we go along here. The water franchise fee there, so is the general fund billing the water company for right-of-ways then?
Robin? Yes.
Okay. Seems a little strange that one part of the city is charging another part of the city.
It's a matching expense on the water company.
Okay.
Whatever revenue we put in on the general fund is a matching expense for the water company.
Okay. The other one, when we're looking at the preliminary revenues and stuff, I know that there was a bill at the state to increase veteran tax exemptions. And I don't know what happened to that bill, and I don't know if it's a consideration for our calculations here. Because, I mean, I think we have a high density of veterans in the area, I'm guessing.
Could look into that.
Okay.
Again, we're going off of the preliminary values that we received so far. We don't have the final certifications, but definitely we could see if that was something that would impact that.
Right, it's an increase to veteran tax exclusions on property taxes.
Okay.
And I know the Senate, there was a bill that was up in the, at the state level, but I just don't know what happened to it.
We'll look into it. This is a breakdown of the permit fees and inspections. All of the line items related to revenue here. As you can see, we have, for the budget, we budgeted $63,200 for, alarms, building, and business permits. And then we're now projecting roughly $85,000. And have an asterisk by it because we're going to bring forward an adjustment of the fee schedule. And then for residential and commercial, it's fairly low. We're going to try to mirror Live Oak down the street for their residential values and commercial values. So that will bring in a little more revenue. Right now it's 0.34 square footage, and it probably should have been adjusted a few years ago, currently with other cities in the surrounding areas from that standpoint. This one will also involve adjusting our building code, because right now I think we're going off 2009, and we have to bring that up considerably, at least 21 to at least 24 here soon. So that's why there's an asterisk in there, because that will provide additional revenue once we make that adjustment. So any questions in our permits or fees, inspections? The next line is our donations. So here's a comprehensive look at the donations we receive. Next slide. This is the court revenue. This is a breakdown of the revenue from court, from municipal court warrants, other fees, the child safety. We are looking at amending the budget about $140,000, and then proposed revenue around $144,500. Here is the miscellaneous for this category. These are what encompasses those related revenue streams totaling $274,000, which will be the proposed revenue for the 26 budget. One I'd like to point out is the bank interest. Apparently, Robin said we're doing well within our pooled funds. So that's obviously helpful based on our reserve from that standpoint. Let's see, sorry. And this is just a revenue summary of all the categories again that we're going to amend the budget for $3,959,169, but we're going to propose, right, as of now, preliminary revenues at $4.2 million, $36,621. So, any questions on the general fund revenues? Okay. Next, we have the preliminary water revenues, and again, this is a 4-year trend. This is showing the water sales and then the other related fees. And then again, the asterisk there for the proposed is based on the change in the rates that were done tonight, correct, Robin? So the 4 and the 4 is applied to this currently. And then again here, we have the miscellaneous for the revenue as it relates to water. And then again, here's a comprehensive summary of all of those, basically those 4 categories, with an ending of proposed revenue of $3,161,100,000. Next, covering just capital improvements, you know, obviously identifying the Vista Ridge Interconnect, the Paul Davis Park, the matching grant we were awarded for the trails, renovations at city facilities for water operations. When Steven's back, we're going to discuss a little firm on the cost about taking one of the older city facilities over there, maybe the old city hall, and turning that into water operations to free up space at Public Works for other improvements at that facility. And then a ground storage tank rehab. And then I put street maintenance because once we're done with the street classification study, we're going to start having to budget dollars for any type of street work over the next 5 to 10 years. Additional items, obviously the property tax rate is assumption until we get the certified values. Future COLA, I'll be working with Robin to determine putting in a COLA right now, usually working that's consistent with other cities in the area to make sure that we're keeping employees, salaries, retention, recruitment, those kind of things, cost of living, additional positions. So all of these will be considered and discussed as far as the next workshop. Additional positions and or future capital equipment, those are things that might be requested from the departments, which we'll cover on the July 23rd meeting. And then any additional review of expenditures and revenue line items moving forward. I put this slide in here because this is sort of where I ask council to provide us as staff any input you might have or considerations what you'd like to see in the budget. That way we can look at the feasibility of it and or cost to see if it can be put in the adopted budget eventually. So I kind of open it up to council if you have any thoughts on anything related to items you might like to see in the budget.
Council?
Yes, Mayor. Yeah, actually, I'm glad Ryan brought this up. We had been talking about this. I actually would be interested in a budget item for 2 things, actually. One is the ability to look at procuring a part-time code compliance officer. That was one item. And the other one was looking at maybe a budget item for where we could help our constituents, those individuals who would like to have the ability to, as we talked about before, dump some of the material off their property. Some of them can't do it themselves. They may need some help. Maybe there's a way we could find a budget to allow to have these events held more often in certain neighborhoods where they need this assistance. So those would be the two items that I'm looking at. I'd like to look at.
So you're
budgets.
referencing maybe a cost of focusing in on a neighborhood's cleanup costs, those kind of things?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
You know, what that might look like in conjunction with Public Works assistance and or Republic?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
I certainly agree with both of those. I mean, I think it'd be terrific if we could budget for a code compliance officer, even just part-time. It's something we all hear a lot about. And it really, bends nicely with your second request on, sort of cleanup and that kind of thing. That's part and parcel of the same thing. So I like both of those a lot.
Yeah, I think when you look at permitting and it all kind of connects when you start looking at permits and ensuring that, if there's someone out there doing work at someone's house or contractor that they actually pulled a permit that they're supposed to. And so you have someone out there proactive to address that with a contractor who didn't pull a permit or doing work who and you didn't pull a permit, and typically those are double fees and fines. So it helps. I think it's the proactive part, you know, for code compliance as well. So.
Do we know when our permit fees were last updated?
I
Don't know.
Not sure.
Yeah.
I mean, the permit fees for certain things have been updated throughout
One
the
by
years,
one,
like
yeah.
planning and zoning fees were updated when y'all revised ordinance number 13. So it depends on the specific fee, but for building fees, I'm not sure they've been revised since I've been here. At least
Okay.
over on this side of City Hall, which would be 2018.
So looking at that, and I've talked to Michelle and BJ, our building inspector, about it, and, you know, it's, what we have is 0.34 cents per square foot, and, you know, I think it was back in 2019 when legislation changed, that cities couldn't do residential values anymore. They had to come up with a square foot. So every city was talking in the area going, okay, what are you gonna come up with? And most cities, like my prior city and surrounding cities, have about $1.50 anywhere to $2 for that. In speaking with BJ from B&B, they worked and developed the Live Oaks fee schedule for both residential and commercial, and I think that's a good fit where they are currently at the 0.70 cents to raise that. And then again, the commercial values, we start talking about economic development, that should be used as a leverage for, you know, anyone who wants to develop, that we can offset any commercial values, and right now they're pretty low. So that's something that we need to raise as well. So. But my ultimate goal again is to bring those forward, so that starts on October 1st as well. So.
Anything else, council? Any other ideas? I'm just, as an aside, sort of combing through our blasting ordinance, and there's some compliance issues on our end as far as what we're supposed to be monitoring, and I'm getting a little more information about equipment that we're supposed to have to monitor both noise and air quality. So, but the contract also says that we're supposed to be reimbursed for that kind of equipment, so I'm sort of working through that, but don't have any hard numbers on anything yet. So I'm just kind of trying to think about what ordinance we have in place and plan for the future. What do we need? What do we need to be anticipating? Where do we see any kind of hiccups?
So anything else, council? Before? Robin, anything else? Okay. So I'll get into the next meetings. Obviously, at the July 23rd, we'll have our second budget workshop. We'll talk about the department requests, you know, kind of where they're at in their current budget, what we're proposing, reviewing of their requests, and then anything relates to capital from the departments itself. And then Friday, August 1st, submitting the proposed budget. That'll be filed with Marissa. It'll be online and then emailed out to council moving forward. My goal in working with Robin is that the budget will look quite different than years past, to actually have a budget document that illustrates and details revenue and expenditures and has an executive summary and those kind of things. So it might look new here, but it's pretty typical document that's used in almost every municipality. So like I said, I'll be working with Robin on that moving forward. July 30th through 2nd, hopefully receive the calculations for the no new revenue and voter approval, certified roll. And once we get that, we'll send that out to council as well. Tuesday,
Ryan.
August 5th will be another workshop. That'll be, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Ron, I didn't want to cut you off. I apologize. I just wanted to look at that first date. The July the 23rd is a Wednesday. So it's Wednesday, right? Wednesday, July the 23rd? Just curious, because I'm looking at my, okay, this
Yeah.
is, that's why I just want to make sure. Okay, thank you.
My dates are off.
Oh, it's okay. I just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
Robin had it right. I changed it and messed it up, so. No, you're correct. So Tuesday, August 5th, we will have the workshop. That'll involve the presentation going over basically the proposed budget, all the revenue expenditures, detailing what requests were considered and put into the budget, and what are still outstanding for council's review, input, and feedback as we move forward through the adoption process. Wednesday, August 6th, we'll discuss the tax rate, and then obviously take a record vote and schedule that public hearing, and then publish Wednesday, August 13th for the August 25th meeting for the public hearing on the budget. And then when we get to August 25th, we'll have the public hearing on the budget. Council will need to take some form of action on the budget by record vote, and that could be, I'm good with it, bring it back for ordinance, but it's ready for adoption. Or you can adopt it that night if necessary. In my previous city, the council adopted the ordinance by tax rate and by budget on the same night. So it could be done from that standpoint. Tuesday, August 26th, publish a notice of tax rate public hearing for the September 3rd. And then on September 3rd, we'll have the tax rate public hearing, ratify the budget if necessary, take a record vote, and then adopt the tax rate by ordinance, and then take a record vote. So, Mayor and Council, I'll open up to questions. I thank you all for attention, input, continued support as we move forward in developing this budget for the city of Garden Ridge.
Thank you for your hard work. And Robin, I know you've been working at this a lot too. The additional information is really appreciated. I don't think I've ever seen a breakdown of our revenue sources, so that was terrific to understand that a bit better. So thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate Robin's work. I just gave her the PowerPoint I used last year in another city in Castle Hills and said, can you help duplicate?
And
So-
she can. She's awesome.
She can.
And she likes numbers.
So,
She does.
Like I said, I just want to make sure that you have all the information you need moving forward as we move from proposed to adoption in the next month and a half. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving right along, number 10, updates. In honor of Todd's birthday, I'm going to rush through these. Aggregate production operations, we have set up a preliminary meeting to meet with Heidelberg. Now that you're on board the advisory council, I will add that to you meeting. We have also set up a meeting with 2 of our citizens to review, our goals for the advisory council. So that will happen as well. I'll get you those dates too. I'm taking a good look at our blasting ordinance. We are out of compliance, and that's yet another tool that we can use, to try to protect the city. So I think we need to take a deep dive into that. I did mention it to our city attorney that that's something that we should take a look at. Jumping on to mitigation of growth and encroachment impacts on Garden Ridge. I have not done anything on this. If somebody wants to take over this, ETJs and encroachment is really just trying to keep an eye on what's going out in the county, what's happening, because we don't very often get notification on what's being put around us. And it does have an impact on our city, whether it's infrastructure, traffic, all of those kinds of things. So that project is up for grabs. Don't everybody raise their hands. All right, we can work with Kendra on that one. That's perfect. Economic development, I will make this one quick as well. I know Ryan has been keeping y'all in the loop on some of the things that we've been working on. Currently, we are trying to get a meeting with some developers that are interested, a phone conversation to see if we can't move things forward. They have some questions about some feasibility of projects in the area. So we are in regular discussions with Retail Coach. They've identified a couple other retailers that have said, hey, if there's space for me, we'd like to come to Garden Ridge. So all of that is very, very promising. So we'll keep on that. Any additions to that, Ryan? Did I cover it all?
No, I think you had it covered. Thank
Okay,
you.
awesome. So discussion of future agenda items. Does anyone like an item they'd like to place on a future agenda? No? Then we can run to citizen comments period. You're not required to sign up, but must sign in with the city secretary after speaking. 2-minute period, can't speak about the same topic if you spoke during the first citizen comment period. We have any takers? Oh, Dr. Miller. Dr. Miller.
First of all, I want to thank City Council, City Manager, and the city staff by extension for answering my questions about the stormwater management. I've been through a few of these over the years, quite a few as a matter of fact. Huh? Yeah, there's been quite a few of them over the years. Something jumped out at me, and it's jumped out at me before, and I've had to caution had cautioned the city council and city manager in the past about. And we talked about water rate increases, and we talked about garbage rate increases. And then at the tail end, we got a little permit fee increase. And I don't know what gets the city excited. Personally, I think they're pretty apathetic about most things. When you increase the water rate and the garbage rate and the permit rate, you're going to hear from people, okay? Somehow we need to uncouple those things in the meetings because otherwise the optics just aren't good. All of them need to be done, and I appreciate the efforts that the city council and city manager puts towards keeping those things separate and addressing them, but be careful, that's all I can say.
Understood. Thank you, Dr. Miller. 13, reports and comments from mayor and city council members. Anybody have any updates they want to give?
I just know that from Comal side that the Board of Trustees approved a 3% pay raise, 2025-2026 adopted budget for teachers and staff members. So that's a great thing. Always want to take care of the teachers and the staff for the Comal ISD school district. It's one of the best, if not the best in the state, so appreciate that. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Awesome. Just of note, like I said, Ryan and I made a visit to Scott Hogg over in Comal County. We were also in Bexar County for the Judge Sakai's suburban luncheon. Good discussion on what's going on in San Antonio and how it impacts us this direction. Also had a Hill Country Alliance county to county workshop, which was kind of a wrap up of the legislative session and the good bills that were passed and some challenges we have to deal with in prepping for 2027, the 2027 legislative session. That's already ongoing. We've got Northeast Partnership next week, I believe. Yeah. Thursday, yes. And also Ryan and I have reached out to TxDOT to start talking some more about some of the issues on our roads here. So we're certainly hitting a lot of these people, a lot of these agencies on this list, so.
And we have a meeting set up with Shirts next week.
Yes, correct.
With
We'll
the
be
mayor and
meeting with
city
Shirts
manager there
next
to
week.
talk about things along our mutual border there.
Yeah, I think it's well worth a discussion to our border with them. I think we need to address that definitely. Anybody else? Then we are on to 14, adjournment. There being no further business, the city council regular meeting is adjourned at 7:34 p.m.